ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् अहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. What we saw in the last class 2 weeks ago was quite a puzzling scenario. The teacher says to a very mature student in the class, who in all likelihood has got it right, has understood what the teacher had taught. All the same, the teacher says to the student, I don't think that you have understood at all. Yadi manyase suvedeti was the first mantra of the second khanda, which means if you think that you have understood, if you think that you know Brahma, well, you don't know really. That is very little partial and therefore improper understanding of Brahma. And saying thus, the teacher shakes the student up. Therefore, it is quite an embarrassing mantra, and in that mantra itself, in the first mantra of the second khanda, which we covered last time, the last two words of that mantra are the reply of the mature student. The top grade student who was endowed with Viveka, Vairagya and other parts of what we call sadhana chatushtaya, that student, he or she, was totally equipped. And yet, the student is told by the Acharya, if you think you know it, I tell you, you don't know it. Therefore, before we take the second mantra, where that particular student, a bit embarrassed, of course, goes to a corner. Before I plunge into some selected lines that will be shown in a slide to you, let me read a couple of words from Acharya Shankara's words connecting to what we will see in this session. Acharya Shankara says in the vākya-bhāshya, which is what we have been seeing in these classes, there is a pada-bhāshya which was written before this vākya-bhāshya by Sri Shankaracharya, commentary 1, and then there is the commentary 2. And vākya-bhāshya is the commentary 2. So I am quoting from the vākya-bhāshya itself. Sri Shankaracharya says, the last two words of the first mantra, where the student comes back and says, well, I think I know Brahma. The student replies with all confidence, refuses to be shaken, refuses to get confused. And Shankaracharya says, Manye viditamiti shishyasya mimamsa anantarokti. That reply by the student is not instantly following the teacher's words, but Mimansa Anantara Ukti. He goes to a corner, thinks about what the teacher said just now. The teacher is saying, I have not understood. I think I have understood, and yet I am told you have not understood. So, taking it very sportively, taking it in good spirit, taking it without without misunderstanding it, Mimamsa, he again analyzes. Have I gone wrong anywhere? I have said something. I say manye viditam. Manye means I think. Viditam, that I know Brahma. That I said out of clear understanding in terms of three factors. The Bhashya by Shankaracharya says, Pratyaya Traya Sangatehe. This will come in the lines we have selected for this session too, in a different set of words. Pratyaya Traya. What are these Pratyaya Traya? They are as simple as this. The words of the scriptures, Agama, the words of the Acharya, teacher, and one's own experience. These are called Pratyaya Traya Sangati. Sangati. They go together. Not one saying something in one direction, another saying something in another direction. Then it is a Asangati. Here there is Sangati. However, the words of the Acharya do shake up the boy or the girl for a moment, but then, as it is said by Bhashya again, Samahito Bhutva. He goes to solitude, sits for some time, calms down his mind, Vicharya, thinks over it, and then smiles. My teacher is just pulling my leg. My teacher is just saying to me in order to be doubly sure that I got it right. And I have got it right. There is no confusion anymore. I'm going to go back to the teacher and say to him, yes, I have known Brahman, but I will make it clear that by saying I know Brahma, it doesn't mean I have put Brahma in the category of Vidita, what can be known. Without putting it in the category of Vidita, known, something that can be known, I know it. Therefore, yatoktam suparinishitaha san aha agama acharya atma anubhav. The pratyaya sangati is agama, acharya, and atma anubhava, one's own experience. This experience is not a sensory experience. This experience is not some emotional experience. It is not the vision of some blue light or ringing bells or some such thing. It is certain anubhava, certain experience of the nature of knowing without conceptualization. You know that you know. There is no objectification, there is no conceptualization, there is no clinging to anything, there is no clinging to even an idea. I know it, others don't know, perhaps no, but I know it. This business of others and how I didn't know before, now I know, and now my future is bright. I'm looking forward to happy times at last. All that is immature. The anubhava, the quiet experience of the Vedanta is where there is no future, no past, there are no others, there is no division between the known and the knower. Therefore, don't we say elsewhere, Brahmavit, Brahma eva bhavati. The knower of Brahma finds he himself is Brahma. The knower of Brahma does not stand apart from Brahma, making it the known. Here is Brahma that I know. I am the knower, Brahmavit. Brahmavit is different and Brahma is different, is not the scenario in that Anubhava. Therefore, Agama, Acharya, Atmanubhava Pratyatrayasya Eka Vishyatvena Sangatyartham. In this way, the student is very clear. In that backdrop, We will now take up the second mantra, which is what the student says to the teacher. Let's see the first slide also for this session, which basically presents the mantra 2. As we already said, the student began with two words in the mantra 1 itself, manye viditam. Therefore, you may consider the second mantra as a certain elaboration. Naham is also present, but as applicable to vākya-bhāshya, the version taken in the vākya-bhāshya by the same commentator who in the pada-bhāshya takes naham, a dot above her, but in the vākya-bhāshya, Sri Shankaracharya takes the version nahamanye, not naham manye, but nahamanye. Nahamanye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha, Yonastadveda tadveda, no na vedeti vedacha. In a hasty reading, this mantra can be very puzzling. As we take a look at the translation, I do not think I know Brahman well enough. I consider not that I do not know, I know and do not know as well. Therefore, na manye suvedeti is first translated as I don't think I know Brahman well enough. The reference is simply the dismissal. The reference is to dismiss the objectification of Brahman. If many people think that knowing Brahma is like knowing a pot or knowing a flower, where the pot or the flower are objects, then I would rather say, na manye. I don't know Brahma. Na manye suveda. That kind of knowing Brahma objectively is no more the case with me. But there is a way to know Brahma without the trace of objectifying it. Knowing very clearly, I am Brahma. My existence and the existence of Brahma are one only. Therefore, in that sense, no Naveda, not that I do not know. So one sentence, I don't think I know. If the expression I know means Brahma is an object, I am not party to it. Another sentence is not that I do not know, that means I know, which is without making Brahma an object. In this sense, Nona Vedeti Vedacha. The last part of the first half is Vedacha. Literally, Vedacha means I know. Acharya Shankara, we'll see the Bhashya line in a minute, clarifies the word cha in this mantra has the capacity to imply the other possibility. Cha means and. Veda cha. I know and here means it implies I do not know. So I know and I do not know as well. So in the translation given in pink letters, I know is the translation of Veda, and for that particle cha, it is added and do not know as well. I know and I do not know as well. Interesting. The teacher spoke in a puzzling manner. Oh, my dear student, if you think you know, let me tell you, you do not. And even the gods do not know. No one knows, and so on. It was very disturbing, but it cannot be disturbing if the student has all the clarity. Those who are not so clear, those who are sitting on the fence, those who have the comfort of some logic which has made some sense to them, and they would like to uh, have somebody certify this is all that is to know and so on. They really don't have total clarity. And here is a student who has total clarity. In other words, his chitta or his antakarana, his buddhi, buddhi would be the best word here. His buddhi has clearly let go of any kind of erroneous notion about Brahman. Therefore, this is the first half of the mantra. The second half says, Yonas tadveda tadveda, nona vedeti vedacha. In other words, the second quarter and the first quarter are, no, second quarter and the fourth quarter are identical. Nahamanye suvedeti, prathama padaha, nona vedeti vedacha, dvitiya padaha. Yonas tadveda tadveda, tritiya padaha, nona vedeti vedacha, iti chaturtha padaha. द्वितीय पादः चतुर्थ पादः च समानौ वर्तेते. They are alike. Therefore, what is going on here? No na Veda. Not that I do not know. Veda cha, I know. And cha means I do not know. No na Veda. Veda cha, again, in the fourth quarter. As simple as this. The third quarter says, Yo naha tadveda tadveda. Among us, this particular student says to the Acharya, among the bunch of 10 or 20, 15 or 25 students that day in that particular class, there could be someone who also knows the way I know, means without objectifying, without conceiving Brahma as something to be known, without putting it in either the category of the known or the category of the unknown. It is I who is the pure consciousness shining away. न द्रष्टुः दृष्टेः विपरिलोपो विद्यते न श्रोतुः श्रुतेः विपरिलोपो विद्यते. There's a string of sentences in the Upanishad which declares that there is a certain principle of knowing in us. We are that principle, and that principle is the basis of all knowledge, and that principle of knowing, which is called Chit, which is called Chaitanya, which is called Drashta, which is called Drik, which is called Samvit, which is called Prajna or Prajnanam in Aitareya. That principle doesn't have to be brought to the position of an object to be known. For heaven's sake, don't pull Brahman down to the category of an apple or orange, which you may know, and some strange fruit that grows only in some African village where you have never gone and you have never seen. So that fruit of the African village belongs to unknown, vidita, avidita. Do not pull Brahma down to either the category of the known or knowable or the category of the unknown or unknowable. Brahma na viparilopo vidyate. Brahma is that knowing principle which even for a split second doesn't go on leave. Therefore, he among us who understands the utterance, not that I do not know, I know and I do not know as well, knows that Brahma. In other words, the first half of this mantra is about his own clear understanding. He is successfully walking on the tightrope, not falling on one side, which is vidita, known, not falling on the other side, which is avidita, unknown, remaining on the tightrope, walking ahead. Brahma is not known, Brahma is not unknown. I am what I am. and I know what I am. Tell me what you are. Actually, it cannot be put in words, which doesn't mean I do not. Generally, when you and I are not able to put into words something, the other party concludes. Look, he's not opening his mouth. He doesn't know, you see. Sometimes misunderstanding takes place in conversations. Somebody asks you a question and you just look into his eyes and you don't reply. He jumps to the conclusion that you do not know. Just now I watched before this class a 2-minute video that came from somewhere, and nowadays I delete 90 out of 100 just like that. But this seemed to be a bit interesting. The scenario was of a certain institution of education where some young man wanted to be a teacher, and the head of the institution or someone responsible finds out that this young man is not yet graduate. He is in the final year of his undergraduate degree. So he tends to reject him. But the young man says, I think the degrees and qualifications should not matter. What matters should be passion. And in that 2-minute video, interesting, very nice video really, the professor or the senior man, out of some kindness, though not believing in his heart of hearts that this young man would ever be fit enough to be a teacher at this education institution. The young man is studying in some other college, asks a question, asks a second question, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, some 8 questions. And the young man who came looking for a job just looks at the face of the interviewer or the senior professor, apparently dazed, not knowing the answer to any of those questions. And the senior elderly man says, see, I told you, you must go step by step, complete your degree first, then you come, etc., etc. And he's about to leave, but then the young man says, sir, one moment, almost at his wits' end, having no patience left yet. The senior professor stops and looks at the young man's face. And amazing, very interesting video. The young man then replies to all those 8 or 10 questions, one after another, like some Ashtavadhana. An Ashtavadhani hears the questions of 8 people sitting in front of him, and those 8 people would have asked questions in 8 different subjects, and the Ashtavadhani, Ashta Avadhana. Avadhana means focusing, concentrating, grasping it. So the Ashtavadhani grasps the questions, keeps the questions in his mind. When all are done, he says, okay, and answers every one of them in the sequence. So this was a video in a sense of Ashtavadhana in the context of some side subject, mechanical engineering or something. He answers one by one, tuck, 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 all the 8 answered. So the professor is unable to believe. So in the last half an hour, the professor had just discouraged this young man from coming anywhere near this institution. But finally, the professor says, come tomorrow at 11 a.m. and I will introduce you as the new teacher at this college. You are welcome to join the faculty. So, see how there was a misunderstanding. When the student just gazed at the face of the senior professor, did not utter a single word, it seemed that he didn't know the answers to any of the 8. Like that, if the Vedanta student on a higher plane of understanding says, I don't think I know Brahman, then it may not really mean he doesn't know. He is clearly saying, I now understand fully how Brahma can never be put in the category of something that can be known, that can be objectified. In the very first shloka of Saddarshanam, Sri Ramana Maharshi says, Tasya smritihi tatra dradhaiva nishtha. To think of Brahma in the right way is not to create a concept of Brahma. Tasya smritihi, tasya smaranam, tasya bodha. Knowing rightly Brahma is tatra dradhaiva nishtha. Be there, be the self, be Brahma. To know self, the best way or the right way or the most precise way of knowing the self is just to be the self. Sat pratyaya kinnu vihaya santam hridyesha chinta rahito hridakhyah katham smaramastamameyamekam tasya smritistatra dridaiva nishtha. Is the first shloka where Ramana Maharshi presents the essence of this 2.2 of Kena-Upanishad. Don't say I know it, putting it in the box called things known. Don't put it in the box of things called unknown by saying I don't know. In a way you know, in a way you do not know, but actually you are that. Now we go to the second slide where a couple of lines from the very profound commentary. The second commentary Bhagavan Bhashyakara wrote on Kena-Upanishad, namely vākya-bhāshya, is given. Parinishtitam safalam vijnanam pratijānīte acārya atmanischayoho tulyatājai nāham manye subheda iti. The student pratijānīte. Pratijānīte means pratijnām kurute, announces, declares. Pratijna is a declaration. Like they talk about Bhishma Pratijna. Bhishma declared, I will never lay claim to the throne of Hastinapura, never in this life. And then he made a second Pratijna, second great statement. I will not marry at all. That was to prevent his son claiming the Simhasana of Hastinapura, because he was born to Shantanu out of Ganga much before Chitravirya, Vichitravirya, etc. were born from the second wife of Shantanu called Matsyagandha, and then from Chitravirya, Vichitravirya, no progeny. Then their wives actually had the progeny, Pandavas and Kauravas, and then there was, no, not Pandava, before them, Pandu and Dhritarashtra. And one servant maid in the palace also got a son from Vyasa, and that was Vidura. So Pandu got Pandavas, Dhritarashtra got Kauravas. So Pandavas and Kauravas came much later. Bhishma could have claimed the throne, but he had made a pratijna. Therefore, whenever somebody makes an unbelievable declaration, which is filled with sacrifice, filled with grit and courage and vision and so on, something that one must adore, and they say, wow, look at what he has declared, look at what she has declared. It is like Bhishma Pratijna. So Pratijna is a noun, Pratijaniti or Pratijanati, Atmanepadi, Parasmepadi. And in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, go to the rooftop and declare Kaunteya pratijani, that is imperative mode. Declare, go make a declare. Go make a declaration. Pratijnam kuru. Name bhaktaha pranashyati. Say to the whole world, a devotee of the Lord can never perish. Lord will be with him. So parinishtitam safalam vijnanam pratijanite. The student declares the clearest wisdom that he happens to have. He does so that there is agama on one hand, in addition, acharya and atmanishchaya. That's what Shruti said. That's what my teacher has said. That's what I myself have experienced. Tulyataye, all of them are now comparable. They are not going in different directions. Naha manne suvedeti. So what is naha if it is not naham, which was the version we took elsewhere? And in Pada-bhāshya, even Shankaracharya takes that version, but in this vākya-bhāshya, he says it is naha manye. So aham is not there, but aham is not required because manye is anyhow first person singular. With or without aham, once manye comes, just as gacchami, patami, then aham is implied, aham patami, aham gacchami. The very verb in Sanskrit carries the sense of the subject. Shankaracharya explains, aha iti avadharanartho nipada. Since aham is out and there is aha and you wonder what this aha is. Aha is just to emphasize and say yes. Naha manye vasuvede. Of course, in no way I would say, I know Brahma, making it an object. Naiva manye ityeta. Yavat aparinishtitam vijnanam, before I had certain understanding which was not all that clear. Tavat suveda sushtuveda aham brahmeti. Viparito mama nischaya asit. Then, because I was very bright and among all the students, I had a certain special place. All of them used to come to me for their doubts. And the teacher also always appreciated me. I basked in glory, sometimes my own glory, sometimes reflected glory. My teacher is revered everywhere, and once in a while he would have me on the stage sitting next to me. So I basked in reflected glory. Suppose you are very close to some eminent person and your picture comes in newspaper, on the television and so on. And the people in your neighborhood say, we saw you in the paper, we saw you on television yesterday. You say, yeah, I was there on the stage. But you are not the eminent person. The eminent person was next to you. So that's called reflected glory. So here was the student, he makes a confession in this Bhashya. As long as it was not clear, my knowledge, then I had a wrong notion. Suveda, Brahma can be objectively known. But that proved to be false. So in the next third slide, we see the student declaring, student admitting that that kind of lingering notion, there was a notion lingering. Lingering means staying on. After so much of study, again there is a lingering idea that, well, I now know Brahma, as though there is a gap between Brahma and oneself. Therefore, it is said, Saha apajagama. Surprisingly, even in the Gita press book, I saw a print mistake today. It was written, Sa upajagama. Shiva Shiva. Apajagama and upajagama will have opposite meanings. Therefore, it is not upajagama in the Gita press printed book, but as it is written here in this slide, apajagama. Apa means going away. Apagacchati. apagachat and apajagama, past perfect form of past tense. Saha, that wrong idea that in a subtle way Brahma can be made the object of my knowledge, which is never possible. Apajagama. Bhavadbihi vichalitasya. Or you shook me. And when I further reflected on what you said, the last trace of subject-object division between me and Brahma went away. Yatokta arthamimamsa phalabhutat. That was the phala, that was the result of Mimamsa. Athato Brahma Jidnasa. Call it Jidnasa, call it Mimamsa. They are one in this context. Wanting to know the ultimate truth, one puts forward one's best foot and discovers Swatma Brahmatva Nishchaya Rupa Samyak Pratyaya. So that wrong understanding, apajagama, went away from Samyak Pratyaya. Once there was the right understanding, which was Swatma Brahmatva Nishchaya Rupa, which was of the form of the clear and once for all determination of one's own self being Brahma, Viruddhatva, because to think of Brahma as objectifiable and to know Brahma is the subject itself are opposed to each other. Ato nahamanye suvede. Therefore, definitely, would not say I know it well. Because in the present context, knowing it well means making it an object. I know sugar well. Half an hour ago, I ate sugar. Still, a few grains are still in my mouth. I know ice cream well. I know about a million things you and I say I know because we bring it in our mind. Somebody asks you, have you yourself seen the Taj Mahal? I have gone 3 times, okay? One says. And then picture of Taj Mahal. When you went there in 85, when you went again in 2005, when you went again in 2018, memories flash in your mind, I know Taj Mahal, and so on. There it is. I, the knower, and the Taj Mahal, the known, are two different things. If that is what is meant by Suveda, then, oh teacher, you are right. You said the earlier mantra had those words. Yadi manyase Suvedeti. So the Suveda has got associated with the subject-object division. Na aha manye Suvedi. Then, yasmacha etat naivara veda nona vedeti. Therefore, it's not in this way objectifying that I know, na veda, no na veda. Since that kind of erroneous conception has been dismissed, no, na veda. It's not that, no means it's not that, na veda. I do not know. Double negative. It's not that I did not know. Somebody was fumbling to speak English. And the other person said, did you never study English? Then this person said, oh, it's not that I did not study English. It's not that I did not study. That means I had studied English. But today in the interview, I was not able to speak because I got very nervous. And I have been a little unwell, some memory loss, etc. It's not that I did not study, which means I had studied. I do know, but not making Brahma an object. Manye iti anuvartate avidita Brahma pratisheda. Because the maximum emphasis in this whole portion is expressed in this phrase, avidita Brahma pratisheda. For heaven's sake, do pratisheda, dismiss, take away from your mind the least trace of Brahma either belonging to Vidita or belonging to Avidita. Katam tarhi manyase ityuktaha. Then how exactly do you know? Well, if there is no objectification, Veda, I know. Then cha shabdat, na Veda cha. If it is in an objectifiable manner, I do not know. If it is objectifiable manner, I do not know. If it is not objectifiable manner, rather being oneself, oneself being it, then I know. This happens many times. There are two people with the same name. Two ladies, one in Mysore, another in Chennai. Both are Kamala. And somebody asks, do you know Kamala? Don't we say, well, if you are talking of Kamala in Mysore, I know her. If you are talking of Kamala in Chennai, I do not know. The other person may lose patience. Don't give all this philosophical answer. Just tell me whether you know Kamala or not. Then you smile. I am telling you that only. There are two ladies by the name Kamala. If you are talking about Kamala in Mysore, I know her very well. I know her for 20 years. But there is another Kamala in Mylapore, Chennai. If you are talking of that Mylapore Kamala, which my friends know, I have never met her, ever interacted with her, neither she came to my house nor ever I went to her house. I don't know her. You see? Therefore, Veda cha, Mysuru Kamalam Veda, Chennai Kamalam no Veda. Objectifiable Brahma, I do not uh, accept as known, and non-objectifiable Brahman. If you look at Brahma as non-objectifiable, yeah, I know. I am that in this way. So Shankaracharya himself summarizes Vidita Avidita Abhyam Anyatvat Brahmanaha Tasman Maya Viditam Brahma iti Manye iti Vakya. Therefore I called it a tightrope walk also. Not falling on the right side, which is the camp of Vidita, not falling on the left side of the tight rope from 20 feet, 25 feet high. A girl is walking with a stick in hand. How she balances herself. People watching it get afraid. They are not going to fall. But imagining the young girl will fall and break her bones makes them panicky. But she has been doing it for years. She walks on the tightrope, goes from one end to another without falling. Likewise, somebody who has great vivek, tremendous vairagya, that person has matured over many lives. For many lives, he or she has climbed many rungs of the ladder of evolution, being born as a human being, being endowed with decisive, non-oscillating mindset, studying the scriptures, there again going to Vedanta, there again engaging in the subtle exercise of Atmanatma Viveka, there again understanding what Brahma is. That's what the second shloka of Viveka Chudamani, as some of you have already guessed, says. It's not not an easy thing. One in a million, one in a billion maybe gets to know Brahma. Jantūnām narajanma durlabhamata pumstvam tato viprata tasmādvaidika dharma marga parata vidvatvamasmāt param atmanatma vivechanam svanubhavo and so on. And Brahmajnana koti janma sukritair vina na labhyate, says that shloka. Viveka Chudamani, terrific poetry and plenty of insights into Vedanta has been praised by many. Swami Chinmayananda used to say, if you want to stick to just one Vedanta work, keep Viveka Chudamani and give away all your books to somebody, some library, somebody else if you have For some reason, you want to keep just one book. Or you are on the go, roaming about. You want to just carry one book. Carry Viveka Chudamani. If you are a mumukshu, if you are not so high, carry Bhagavad Gita. It has both dharma and moksha. You are a mumukshu and you have put aside responsibilities. You don't have to exercise your mind much in right and wrong, etc. All that is past. Now you need to only anchor yourself in self-knowledge. Then Viveka Chudamani from this side. Therefore, Tasman Maya Viditam Brahma iti manya iti vakyartha. In one last slide, we have a couple of comments again. That's about actually the second part of the mantra. What is that? Yo nastadveda tadveda, no na vedeti vedacha. As I pointed out earlier, the second and fourth quarters of the second mantra of the second khanda are identical. Yo nastadveda tadveda is different. But the fourth quarter is no na vedeti vedacha. Yo nastadveda tadveda iti pakshantara nirasartham amnayah uktartha anuvadat. This is to state again that as it applies to the classmates, yo nastadveda, whoever knows the Brahma, like I have now grasped it, tadveda, knows Brahma. Whoever knows Brahma in the way I have appreciated, not vidita, not avidita, not in the least belonging to either category. Suppose someone has that clarity, then that person also saha tadveda. Yaha tadveda tat prakarena, saha tadveda nishchita rupena. In this kind of yaha veda saha veda. Pakshantara nirasa. So once more, we should not fall into categories of Brahma can never be known, or Brahma is known like an object. So nirasa, dismissing. Yo naha asmakam madhye tadveda sa eva tad brahma veda na anyaha. Others do not know. If they are not appreciating Brahma the way I have come to appreciate. So those others, they also might be very smart, very learned, very brilliant, very talented, very skillful. They also may have a lot of following in this world. Sometimes in this mad world, saints are judged by number of followers. How many books have you written? How many countries have you traveled? How many devotees or disciples or followers do you have? And if you don't mind, what is your annual turnover? Shiva Shiva, what have all this got to do with the right knowing? But that is this mad world. In this high plateau of Upanishadic thinking, those are not the issues. Do you still regard Brahma as Upasya? See the next line in the Bhashya. Upasya Brahma Vitvat. All the others, who might have great following, who might have written volumes, who might have got such publications in their name which got awards nationally and internationally. A king of some country, a queen of some other, president of a prosperous nation, prime minister of a highly developed country might be among your devotees. Nothing matters. Answer one question. Do you regard Brahma as something to be adored, something to be meditated upon? Upasya. An earlier mantra had said it emphatically. Nedam yadidam upasate. Yan manasana manute, yena hurmanomatam, tadeva brahma tadvitam vidhi, nedam yadidam upasate, yat shrotrena nashranoti, yena shrotramidam shrutam, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, nedam yadidam upasatam. Nedam yadidam upasate, not the one people worship, where they bring in duality. That is not Brahma. Upasya Brahma is not the true Brahma. And all these other students in the class who do not appreciate Brahma the way this enlightened student does are into Brahma Upasana. Brahma is not Upasya. Brahma is Jneya. Brahma is to be known. Full stop. Brahma is to be understood, period. It is not to be worshipped. Because worship means duality. The worshipped and the worshipper. Right? Therefore, Pakshantare Brahmavitvam nirasyate. So all other ideas of knowledge of Brahma are dismissed as they are not knowledge of Brahma at all. Real knowledge of Brahma is where the last trace of upasyatva, that being an object of worship, is dismissed. Kutaha yamartaha avasiyate iti uchyate. How come this kind of avasiyate, avasana, final meaning arises? Ukta anuvadat, uktam si anuvadati, nona vedeti vedacha. So, in the earlier mantra, it had come, nona vedeti vedacha. So, it is ukta anuvada. Anuvada means saying it again. Anuvada is not translation from one language to another, which is the case somewhere else. But Anuvada here is Vadati says, Anuvadati says again, says the second time. Earlier also it was said. If it is objectifiable, then I don't know. If it is non-objectifiable, then I know it. Brahma that I know of in all clarity is not objectifiable. Once something is an object, then it can belong to either camp A, known, camp B, unknown. But non-objectifiable, you yourself are that. You cannot put it either in this box or that box, not belonging to any boxes. In this way, it's in a way complex, but another way very simple. Learn to remain silent. Study well, discuss, do your duties, but have some time where sit quietly. Old notions, old ideas, old concepts arise, strike them down in the light of higher understanding of Vedanta. To strike on false concepts, you need quietude, silence, talk less. Don't talk just because you feel like talking. If you are an advanced spiritual seeker, you need all the more viveka. What to talk, when to talk, how much to talk. Therefore, Viveka Chudamani, one more quote and then we conclude. Mokshasya yogasya pratamam dwaram vang nirodha, says one of the shlokas of Viveka Chudamani. Yoga, which stands for moksha, you want to really go to higher and higher levels of spirituality, be more mindful of vak, speech. Yogasya pratamam dwaram vang nirodha. In addition, aparigraha and nirasha cha niriha cha nityamekanta shilata, a couple of other things are mentioned. But first and foremost, yogasya pratamam dwaram vang nirodha, says Viveka Chudamani. Om Namah Parameshivaya.